We have our core values, and the number one value, and by far the most important, is patients first. And it's really about the patients.
David Golan, thank you so much for joining me on 20-Minute Leaders.
Thanks for having me.
Well, artificial intelligence, healthcare, helping save lives, postdoc at Stanford. This is a complete honor of mine. So I'm very, very glad to have you. David, you're the CTO of Viz.ai. I can't believe you just tell me you're over 100 people across the US and Israel. That's just insane. David, right before we go back to your personal journey, give me a little bit of context. What is Viz.ai and how do you integrate artificial intelligence with healthcare?
Yeah. So our mission at Viz.ai is to facilitate better care for patients by applying artificial intelligence, detecting, uh, for example, stroke or other pathologies that require immediate attention, and alerting the right physician immediately using our AI and using our mobile platform so they can treat the patient much faster.
So just, for
That's
context
basically
about the
what we do.
problem, you're saying this idea of detecting a strokes. When I think of somebody having a stroke, I think about the movies. I'm thinking about somebody who's stopping in the middle of the street. They're starting to realize that something is weird. They maybe fall down, and then eventually somebody will call 911. I'm guessing that the problem is that oftentimes it's too late, right? I mean, that every second there
Yeah.
counts.
Yeah, so stroke is the single most time critical condition in all of medicine, with the exception of a kid choking on a grape. Every minute that goes by, a patient loses 2 million neurons that translate to over 4 days of disability-free life. So it's really a race against time. And we all have these images from media of someone like having a stroke and being rushed to the hospital. The sad fact is that the delays typically happen within the hospital system. So the largest delays are after the patient is admitted. Actually, more often than not, they're even after the patient is imaged. So the patient was in a CT scanner. Somewhere, in a file system, there's a sequence of bits and bytes that tells this patient is having a stroke, but just the system, it's a human-based, very sequential linear system, is not efficient at triaging those patients, identifying who needs emergent care and who doesn't, and sort of skipping the queue and making sure the right patient gets the right treatment.
So
And this
it's
is
not a
basically what we
problem,
do.
right? So it's not a problem of proficiency of taking care of it, but it's a problem of diagnosing the urgency of the situation, right?
Exactly. So it's really not about in the context of AI and radiology and interpreting scans. People are sort of saying AI will replace the radiologist or will not replace the radiologist. Who's better? It's really not about being better. It's about being everywhere, 24/7, being diligent, never taking a break, which computers can do and humans can't. Not to mention the cost, right? So the AI is always there in the cloud. Every single scan goes to the cloud. We're at about, I think, 45,000 scans a month now,
Wow.
going to the cloud, being interpreted. About 1 out of 10 is a stroke.
Oh my.
The AI identifies the stroke, sends an alert. The physician gets the physician, by the way, is more often than not in a different hospital or at home or driving or whatnot. They get the alert. They have a mobile platform. They can view the scans. They can communicate with the team. And this really changes the flow of healthcare from this sequential one stop after the other, um, you know, very slow process.
Yeah.
Something, everybody gets the alert. Everybody sort of sinks in on the mobile platform, makes a decision, go, and we treat the patient much, much, much faster.
So just to
Um,
paint me the picture again, where is the scan taking place? So let's say I'm the one who is experiencing the health condition. Where am I physically located while the scan is taking place, and why am I so disconnected from the whole healthcare system that you're talking about?
Yeah. So if you're unfortunate enough to have a stroke or to be suspected of a stroke, you will be taken to a hospital,
Right.
to an ER, and you will be scanned. Now,
Okay.
between 60 and 70% of the time, the facility that you're being scanned at does not have the full capability to treat you as a stroke patient. You will need to be triaged and transferred to another facility. It's called a comprehensive stroke center, right? And I mean, immediately, you know, if you've been in a hospital once, you sort of know how inefficient this can be. Immediately, you
Right.
see there's a chain of handoffs that needs to happen. And remember, also, you're in the smaller hospital.
Right.
It's less experienced. They don't see as many strokes, so they're not
Right. Right.
as practiced with them. And this is where, you know, due to human error, due to overload, due to a tired physician, or just due to like random stuff, like someone calling someone else while they're already on the phone with a third party,
Right.
there's delays introduced and there's drops in this process. So we completely eliminate this. And you
Incredible.
know, actually, if you're okay with this, I just want to share something from literally from earlier today,
Yeah, of
like a post
course.
on LinkedIn. I can send this afterward. A post on LinkedIn from Piedmont. We just went live at Piedmont. It says exciting day for us at Piedmont. We've officially launched with Viz.ai across our health system. Our first case came through, an LVO alert. LVO is a type of stroke. Was received even before the images made it to the system. Physician notes that Viz saved us at least 15 minutes on this case. What is
15
15 minutes?
minutes?
15 minutes is 60 days of disability-free life and saves 150 days of potential loss of functional independence. Right? This is from today. This is like I shed a tear when I
David,
read that. It
I'm
was
getting no, no,
so so
I'm getting
exciting.
emotional here listening to you say that. How? So you're reading this post, and I'm literally tearing up as I'm hearing this, because this is probably something that I'm the most passionate about, using technology to literally save lives. You know, a lot of entrepreneurs go and build products that are trying to make the world a better place or have a positive impact. You're literally saving people's lives, and you're not just saving them from life and death. You're also saving their well-being. It's not just about whether they survive, but it's about their quality of life moving forward, which I think is completely inspiring. Talk to me a little bit about your personal journey going into this. So you know, you're a teaching assistant at Tel-Aviv University. You're an algorithm. You work on algorithms at VMware. You're a postdoc at Stanford. How do you go into this realm of artificial intelligence and transition into co-founding this amazing company?
Yeah. So I mean, it's a good question, and you know, sort of my background has been a bit random. Uh, Throughout my adult life, I've been sort of gravitating towards what's interesting and fun, and challenging. And as you mentioned, I developed algorithms in the tech industry. I did some cool stuff in my undergrad and masters and PhD. And I came to Stanford for a postdoc to focus on statistical learning and genetics and genomics and you know, solve the world's problems. And like, I guess two main things happened. One of them is, you know, I guess everything depends on luck, but I came to Stanford exactly when for the first time, a convolutional neural network class was taught at Stanford. And
Wow.
I was like completely randomly, I stumbled upon it, and I said, "Well, let's go and listen. What is this stuff that, you know, sort of keeps coming up recently? Everybody's saying this is a big deal." And I go there, one or two, you know, lectures, and it's obvious that this is a game changer. It's obvious that something really, really big is happening here. It's not, you know, another method, another algorithm. It's really something that's going to change a lot of things.
Do you remember who was
So
teaching the
immediately,
class back then?
yeah, it was Andre Karpathy's famous you know, CS
Yeah.
231N. Like everybody's done that.
CS231N. It's the notorious class of convolutional neural networks.
Yes. So I mean, that was the first time it was taught at Stanford, and it was absolutely mind blowing.
Wow.
So I mean, immediately I started to think, okay, let's see how we can apply that in research, in genetics, in genomics, and started, you know, dabbling with medical imaging, started playing with all sort of stuff. Um, And completely unrelated to that, I actually, you know, the story I told you about the patient being scanned and so on, I actually experienced it. I was admitted about 5 years ago to Stanford Hospital with a suspected stroke,
Really?
which actually, yeah. So actually, it ended up not being a stroke and just a different neurological thing that's completely reversible, and I'm fine and healthy. So no, don't worry. Um, but like everything I tell you about the delays, about the disconnects, I literally experienced those being like unable to speak, paralyzed in half of my body, on a bed at Stanford, looking around and saying, what the hell is going on? Why are things taking so long?
And it is in one of the best hospitals in the world. So whatever
And
you
exactly, it's like,
right.
it was like Monday morning. You wouldn't say like Christmas Eve or something. It was absolutely, absolutely mind blowing. So, half of the brain is like super freaked out that I'm going to be, disabled for the rest of my life. And half of the brain is like, what the fuck is going on? I'm sorry. I don't
Wow.
know if I was allowed to say that.
No,
You
no,
can, you
no.
can beep
This is okay.
it.
100% okay.
um, and I was fortunate to meet my co-founder, Chris Mansi. I was introduced actually following this incident by a mutual friend. Chris is a neurosurgeon by training,
Wow.
and he was at the business school at Stanford. And we actually met at a friend's, sitting in his backyard around a bonfire. And I sort of told him my story, and he looks at me and is like, "Dude, you're lucky, you're alive, everything is fine. I lost like dozens of patients on my operating table over stupid stuff like someone not picking up the phone at the right time. And I actually came to Stanford to fix this.
Wow.
And like we started talking about how would you fix this? And like if everything was automatic, if computers were there instead of humans, things would have been much better. And I remember we actually Googled on his phone like some images, and I looked and said, I think deep learning, we can probably automate this. Um,
Unbelievable. When was this? Well, how long ago
This
was this?
was 2000, beginning of 2016.
Wow. So we're talking about 4 years ago, and fast forward, and you're running over 100-person company, and you're
Yeah.
all and you're saving lives. So talk to me a little bit about what's happening today. So you say you have 45,000 scans a month. 10% of those are stroke cases, which means that in the current state, you're literally helping save the lives of 4,500 people, either saving them from life and death or saving their well-being for hundreds of days, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, now we're fortunate. We've seen very rapid adoption in the US. We're live in over 500 hospitals, seeing a lot
Wow.
of patients. There's accumulating evidence that implementation of Viz software reduces the time, improves patient outcome, reduces length of stay in the hospital, and all that coming from different hospital systems across the US. So it's fairly robust. Yeah, it's really exciting. We're launching new products. We're expanding beyond stroke. We have a
Wow.
brain bleed product. We have a few others that are sort of coming down the pipeline. And it's actually been
So,
a
David,
lot of fun.
I have to ask company culture because it's something that's fascinating for me. As a young entrepreneur myself, and thinking about leadership and what it means to really motivate people. And I'm seeing my class at Stanford and my friends from 8200. It's all about mission driven companies, right? We want to join companies that are mission driven, that have a purpose, that we feel a part of a community. I'm assuming this, but if you're looking at the 100+ people that are working at Viz AI, is there a shared goal here? Do people understand the magnitude of what you're achieving here?
Oh, I think the answer is yes. Like we put a lot of effort into it, and it's super important. First of all, we have our core values, and the number one value, and by far the most important, is patients first. And it's really about the patients. It's even recognizing that it's about the patients, not even about the users or
Right.
whoever's paying for the product. Um, we have different backgrounds in the company. People coming from healthcare, which is a lot of the commercial slash customer facing, they get it immediately. We have, a customer success team. Many of them are stroke nurses and stroke coordinators who sort of jump ship because
Wow.
they understand that this is the way to really transform. In Israel, we have the engineering team, and we're slightly removed from what's going on. So we do a lot. We have, in all hands, we have what we call the magic moment section, where we share one or two, stories like the one I shared with you earlier. We have our brain time session. We call it. It's a 30-minute every week where we just review interesting cases. What happened? Did they use the app? Did they use it properly? Did
Wow.
something strange happen? Um, so we really try to connect even every single person in the company to the fact, because I mean this is what differentiates from our perspective Viz as a place of work. You can go work in other places. Some may even pay you more money, um, but I strongly believe it's one of the only places where you can see a very direct line from your work to numbers of lives saved.
Unbelievable. So talk to me a little bit about this intersection of artificial intelligence and healthcare and medicine in general. Where is this headed? Because this is something that, I guess 10, 15 years ago, there wasn't too much innovation going on with, especially using these technologies and completely transforming the way that healthcare is processed. And just like, the amazing things that you're doing, there's other companies like Zebra Medical Vision that are doing phenomenal things, and other companies around the world. What is the trend, and how can people that are perhaps pursuing a Ph.D. in artificial intelligence, or that are mathematicians, how can they find this smooth integration and implementing these algorithms into actual sustainable products that can actually improve people's lives?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess that's the $1 million question, and I think there's few ways to attack. First of all, in terms of the trends, yes, for a very long time, not a lot has happened, and again, I think most of the reason is that people focused on trying to beat humans at their own game, like reading better. There was a lot of focus in oncology, for example, in breast mammography, trying to be better than a human in a very hard task. What we did at Viz, which was a first, and it was actually a new regulation created by the FDA for us, was not to compete with humans in their own game, but say where does the computer have the advantage? Where time is of the essence,
Right.
right? So actually, our algorithms are not more accurate than humans. Humans, like the expert reading this head scan, they don't miss a stroke. It's not about accuracy. It's about getting them in front of the right patient at the right time.
Right.
And there you can show very, very substantial clinical benefit. We convinced the FDA, they created a new regulation called computer-aided triage for this. And now I just actually recently we did a survey. There's about 30 devices in this category using us as a predicate. And this has become the number one way for AI companies to have a foot in the door in the healthcare system. So, but what is the lesson? I don't think the lesson is you should go do triage. I think the main thing is that you have to sort of forget about AI, and we have AI in our name here, but let's forget about the AI for a second, and you have to really find a problem that needs fixing, a pain point that's so painful to patients, to physicians, and also to the financial people at the hospital,
Right.
because stroke is financially a very big deal. It's actually the number one healthcare expense in the US.
Wow.
So and then you say, what do I need to fix it? And AI may be part of the solution. And by the way, when I think of Viz, when we ask our customers what is like the biggest feature of Viz that you like the most, AI doesn't always come up first. It's part of the whole solution. The solution is a technology, a mobile viewer, a chat, a secure chat they can use. It's AI. It's also a customer success representative that really understands stroke and works with them to improve their stroke workflow and how they leverage what Viz has to offer to improve their own workflow and so on. So it's really holistic. So what I'm trying to say is, if you're an AI practitioner and you have a hammer and you're now looking for a nail, like everything looks like a nail, don't do that. First, find a problem, convince yourself that there's a clinical case, a business case, and then if AI can help, wonderful.
100%. No, and it's inspiring because it's what I'm gathering from this is, in you're saying, it's not the AI that is Viz. It's Viz. AI is a component. It's a tale of Viz, and you're providing this holistic experience that is trying to capture a lot of the misalignment within the industry, or within the process of a potential stroke patient. The AI is sort of a helper tool to allow that to happen, but it's all these other resources, whether it's the customer success person or the secure chat, or understanding the problems of that specific organization.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really big lesson that I'm taking from this, because as a technology enthusiast myself, I'm constantly reminding myself that it's not just about the algorithm, it's not just about the code, it's about how do you actually bring this to market and make it something that's useful David, this was inspiring and insightful. Thank you for taking the time to do this. I'm sure that it's, running over 100% company and doing the things that you're doing. I'm definitely very, very, very honored that you're willing to do this. But before we leave, I have to ask for 3 words that you would use to describe yourself.
Ooh, so okay, so the first one, I think it's 2 words, but they sort of mean the same thing. I would say naive / optimistic. Like people make fun of me in Viz all the time. I always think some things are would be really easy to do, and they always turn out to be harder. But you have to sort of believe that you can do it and that it's possible to
100%.
sort of take the first step. And I think the second one would be something big for me right now. It's being a father. I'm
Yeah.
a father of 3, and we have a 6-month baby that was born just before the lockdown
Wow.
here. So kids involvement is a big thing, but recently even more than that. And the third thing I would say, I thought about going with a geek nerd thingy, but I actually went with a statistician. I'm a hardcore statistician by training, not a machine. I do machine learning and stuff, but my training is in statistics, and I consider myself a statistician who applies statistics to how he thinks about the world, and
I
that
love it.
actually has been extremely useful at the Viz journey and in life in general. So yeah, I guess we'll go those 3.
David, thank you very much. Toda rabah. Keep helping save people's lives, and I'll keep following the journey. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take care.